Aloha everyone, this is Mitchell Ornalis here for another video for our Indigenous Minded YouTube channel. This is the journal vid number 9. Resident osteopathic family physician here in Seattle, Washington. Thank you for the continued support, likes, subscriptions, and sharing it, watching, everything, all the above. So we'll get right into it. This is another week for me in still on my peds outpatient block. It was a short week rotation wise because I was in a conference most of the week into the weekend. Just got back today, so we'll get right into it. So the first day I had one of my busier days was Monday, and I was writing more notes, using the Epic system, seeing more patients, had a lot of thorough physicals and acute complaints, and able to send out meds and work on notes and just kind of do things for patients, and it was good. I was doing a little bit more. It was a pretty solid day. Tuesday, didn't really have anything in the morning. In the morning, I had to get a lot of things kind of situated, getting ready to go to the conference. I had to pack. I had to send some gifts because my significant other, her birthday is actually tomorrow. And I wanted to make sure she got the things in time, and I was going to be gone, so I wanted to make sure I sent out her things, and she did get them, so that was good. We had didactics, and it was at our specific clinic site. So at our clinic site, we did talk about some good things. There's a lot of changes happening at our clinic, and we're going to kind of go into these pod systems and kind of being prepared for that and just making that move, and it's going to be happening soon. Just this whole integration of care approach, trying to have a counselor, pharmacist available, and kind of have your own pod and with providers as well, and that we kind of see and we kind of work together to help each other. So there's going to be some more interesting changes. We talked about the conference coming up, making sure we're prepared. I had to make sure I was checked into my flight and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of, I haven't had this in medical school. I usually had to purchase and get reimbursed later. This was kind of set up, but I just had to make sure it was ready, good to go for the most part. Things that we did get reimbursed for were certain we have a per diem for food and certain travel, I think. So it's keeping track, making sure we keep track of our receipts and everything like that. We did get some information from just how to operate a little bit better in clinic, and some of the resources available to us. Some of the things that we're hearing from the pharmacists, some of the things we can improve on, what they're trying to do, and thinking about our patients and the kind of clinic that we're at. We don't turn anyone away, insured or not, and just ways that we can try to be helpful for them if people need to have a sliding scale or they can't afford certain things, and understand what's on formulary, what's available, what's not available, that kind of stuff. So it's good to talk about. The last thing that we did talk about was a QI project, so quality improvement. One of our uppers had a great kind of a foundation of some things she was offering as something we can work on as a QI project. Basically, so QI is quality improvement, and the way I look at it is something you can do to kind of improve the flow or improve the care that you're giving patients at your clinic. And there was something that was great that she was considering to bring up. So dealing with screening and dealing with our pediatric population. So there's things that we're going to kind of look at and probably move forward with. Some things that we can kind of do. As an intern, we're pretty busy trying to just learn everything, medicine and what it is to do medicine. We have so much inpatient blocks that makes it kind of difficult, but for us it's just to kind of stay clued in and try to stay on top of what's happening. That's basically what they told us to try to do, and that's understandable. And there's projects and ideas that I have that I want to do eventually, and just in the community in general. As I probably mentioned before, is I don't drink alcohol socially. I actually drink kava, and that's a way for me to get more in touch with my Pacific Islander culture that I didn't know I had until recently, and something I would like to introduce to the native people around here, and a lot of people that might not be too familiar with it, as maybe something as to help with some of the substance abuse disorders that I would like to address. But those are some projects and stuff that I'm gonna kind of keep an eye on, and have ideas on how I want to look at those possibly later. So we had that. Then I had a night clinic on Tuesday nights, the teen clinic, and I had a patient I worked with, and it was pretty good. I was able to develop some rapport with the patient and see how they're doing. And I feel like a lot of the patients I have been coming across is a lot of social determinants of health, and just housing situations and feeling comfortable and just the basic needs like that. Having a family that can be there for you and having a solid um, living situation, I feel like I've seen a lot. Um, and it was a pretty good night. Had to get up pretty early Wednesday. We flew out pretty early from here in Seattle to Chicago. So I was able to attend. This was AAIP, the Association of American Indians Physicians Conference, and this was the 48th annual one. And it was in Chicago. So we left Wednesday. It was my first time attending. Very thankful. Was able to go with a lot of my colleagues and co-residents, and it was a good time for us to kind of get to know each other a little bit better and get to hang out and learn. So this was a great. This is actually the shirt I got from the conference. It's kind of like reverse, but it was a good one. I can kind of talk about it a little bit. So this is actually kind of the folder that we got. Shoring up the health of Native Americans, and that was the focus and the theme. So a lot of conferences, a lot of people have been to them, but usually they kind of have a setup where you go and you have like different sessions, and a lot of times there'll be sessions happening at the same time just to get as many things out there that people might be interested in checking one thing or the other thing out. And a lot of times you have keynote speakers and different events, and it's kind of flowing, and you try to attend as much things as you can or what you're really interested in. And you also have like poster presentations and tables. So we had a table talking about our clinic, and actually the table right next to us was from my medical school too. And I was able to, and the coordinator, what is actually her title? But she, with a lot of the Native American, like she's like the coordinator at my medical school. So I was able to connect with her again. That was great. And just talking about how like the big thing too is increasing numbers of Native Americans and people, indigenous people in the health professions, in more physicians, and how do we stay connected and how do we increase those numbers? How do we help a lot of our patients? How do we get people to go back that are like Native physicians or anyone that's interested in working in like Indian country or urban settings that are taking care of indigenous people? How do we increase those numbers? What are the barriers? What are we talked a lot about historical trauma. And it was a great conference for me, and there was a lot of moments where I'm like, wow, this is like why I was meant to be here, and it was good. So started, for us, we got there Wednesday, so I had to fly over. It was a good flight. Just like had to figure out where I was at. I was actually at a hotel in Chicago, so we checked in. And I think I got there and I had to like get some rest to get ready. And there was some time to kind of explore and check out Chicago, which was good about conferences and a lot of times. But the main thing we started with was Thursday morning, because we got there Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night. And then Thursday morning we started with, there was a women's retreat and then there was a men's retreat. So I was a part of the men's retreat, and it was a great time for us to I think it was a great start for the conference to get to meet people. And it's like a talking circle. So like a talking circle is we sit in a circle and we usually go one by one. And a lot of times, you can hold something so it lets people know like this is the person talking, but you let them kind of share whatever they want to share. It's kind of out there. And a lot of us were just sharing who we are, what we're all about, where we come from. For me, I like to talk about my mission, what's my purpose. And quickly, there's not like a big number of like physicians that identify as Native American or as an indigenous person. There's just not big numbers there, so you end up seeing the connections that we have between each other from like the different degrees of separation is not very high. It's like, wow, we actually know this person, I know that person. And so that happened for a few people that I met. There was a doc that was from Oregon, not from my family's tribe, but a little bit more south. And he knew a doc that I did a rotation with at our tribe in Umatilla, and that was like a connection right there. And then he talked about the story that really got me, that was really interesting, is he remembers seeing another doc that was working at the clinic I'm actually at back a while back when I was first starting. And he remembers I think he was in pharmacy school, and he saw the older doc that I'm talking about, but he was like a med student, and he saw him as a med student and was like, wow, this is a Native American. Is, he's like really was impressed. He has a white coat stethoscope, and this guy's native. He'd like never seen that before, and that inspired him to go into medical school. And it made me realize, and that was like the only time you like knew him before that point. Like you just saw him, and that was it. And for me, it made me realize that patient encounters and people we try to mentor and we try to have that good impression that first time. Like I always feel like I try to do. You can't be perfect, but you have that one encounter that can change someone's life, where they can make that right choice or the right choice for them, or get back on the right path. And you might not realize it at the time, but you might have did something or said something that changed them. And that was something important for me. That was a big one. Some amazing stories, some really smart people, MD, PhD students, and long journeys that they have ahead of them, and all different specialties. This conference is like everyone from all backgrounds. We're all just trying to get together. So we have high school students, college students, med students, attendings, like people that retired. It's like everything. We're just trying to and that's what I think I realized about Native people in medicine. I don't really feel that hierarchy, because we know where we come from, and we're like, we made it, and there's not a lot of us, but it's like we have that connection, and we just want to have that connection with each other, and not try not to think too much about the hierarchy so much. It's like we know where we come from, we know what the mission is, like let's work together kind of thing. And that's how I felt. So yeah, we had an introduction, which was great. Posting of colors, opening songs. So we had the drum and a lot of introductions to bring in, the welcome in to the conference. And that's like kind of traditionally how you do it, like powwows as well. Kind of like a welcoming drum and like an opening, bringing in the flags. And that was kind of into Thursday. Had a lot of sessions. We had speakers, doc from Chicago, I don't know if, yeah, representing AMA, it's American Medical Association. Yeah, some of these, I don't know if I attended everything, but we had like for United Healthcare, and there's breaks. Okay, how to reshape the journey. And then we had different sessions. We had like one session group Thursday afternoon, and that was I think the one I attended, I was trying to check out stopping gestational diabetes in daughters and mothers, and there's some projects that are happening. They're trying to look at how do we decrease these numbers, and what are some of the efforts, and some good projects out there trying to get back to traditional foods, and what are ways that we can kind of decrease gestational diabetes in a lot of our Native young mothers, or all mothers. And then there was like business meetings that I wasn't really necessarily part of. I went to like cultural night Thursday night, and it was great because we had some drumming and just talking. And for me, it was good because the drummers were kind of explaining. They're very they've been like all over the continent and like learned the different types of styles, like Southern Plains or Northern Plains, versus like more northern, like for where like my family is. And I can kind of understand now the differences in like the sound and the tone and the drum, and I'm knowing a little bit more now on the different types of dance too. So that was really good. That was important for me. Got some good information from that. Friday morning we had like a fun run, 5K. I did the 1 mile fun walk, had breakfast. It was good. There was like got like a water bottle I actually really like. Got to see a little bit of Chicago with that too. And that was, we had more sessions. We had a talk, I think I attended that one, talk about colorectal cancer and screening across American Indian communities, and how to, what are some of the issues, and increasing, kind of like in general, like a lot of the numbers for Native people is pretty bad in a lot of ways. Like screenings weren't really there. Some of the issues they addressed with that too. And I mean, personally, I have some issues with a lot of the way, like, census, and like how do people identify, and like I also identify as Pacific Islander, so sometimes Pacific Islanders are lumped in with Asian or Pacific Islander, or Pacific Islanders are like Native Hawaiian, other Pacific Islander, and those numbers can like drastically change how you look at things. And on the latter, I kind of agree with, because someone that is Native Hawaiian wouldn't necessarily have the same things and cultures and experiences as someone that might be of a different Asian culture, like say Chinese or something. And that's just kind of a thing I come across, and something I want to kind of dive into more and look into. Just kind of curious about those kinds of things. And then also including like Native Hawaiians with other natives, like Alaska Natives and American Indians or Native Americans. It's another kind of question I have too. And then I think, did I go to something on, cervical cancer, progress and pitfalls for American Indian Alaska Natives. I think I checked that one out. We had more presentations. Talked about the Strong Heart study. That was a good one. That's been ongoing study for like Native Americans on. And I think there's like a different calculator too you can use for like Native people. How we usually use the ACS CVD. They have a calculator I think they created, and there's a doc that's going to be at the inpatient peds location that I'll be at shortly. So I got a chance to meet him. That was great. I got to meet another doc that I got to meet from PriDocs previously. That was in Hilo, and connected with him. And the next PriDocs coming up, the Pacific Region Indigenous Doctors Congress, is going to be in next September 2020 in Vancouver, BC. I'm very excited for that. And that kind of talks about more of the Pacific Islander side of things for me too. And same thing with all this Native people getting together. It'll be great to see a lot of my friends I haven't seen in a long time. A lot of my Maori friends, a lot of people from Australia and everywhere. Talked about physician burnout. That was a really good one. The two big things were having like gratitude and mindfulness, and asking for guidance. And this reminded me of one of our preceptors and what she talked about this, and being able to be present in the moment, ground yourself, and kind of block out a lot of the negativity that can come in your head. But just being grateful, and in any situation, really being grateful. When you have those kinds of feelings, it changes your physiology, and it won't allow you to be in a space of like anger, depression, or which will lead to like burnout. So like looking at things and really being appreciative, like, and looking at it from a different perspective. I think that's huge. That was a good one. Had like a presidential reception. We had mixers. We kind of got to meet a lot more med students. I got to meet a few med students. DO student that was wanting to know more about board exams and kind of my pathway. And if a lot of people might know, there's a merger that's going to be the next match of residents. It's just going to be under the ACGME. There's no longer going to be like the AOA, ACGME. It's just ACGME. There's a lot of questions that come up depending on like your pathway and the programs you're looking at, and like different avenues that you might go down versus like certain tests you want to take, like USMLE versus COMLEX or both, or osteopathic distinction or not with certain programs. And then Saturday, we had another, I think I went to this one, plenary session. So it's kind of like a session for everyone. Creating the Indigenous Toolkit. Oh, that was great. Yeah. And they mentioned, there was more studies mentioned about what's happening in Hawaii too, which was great. Like the cross-cultural competency, some of the things that they're trying to do. And they were trying to address like how, like asking better questions on trying to understand your patients for a lot of physicians, especially physicians that might not identify as Native, and trying to build that better connection, I think, is a big thing. Okay, I went to the minority physician workforce shortage. So they kind of brought up some of these stats again with this one, and how to try to increase, and it was just like showing the numbers, like how small representation Native Americans and a lot of other ethnicities as well are underrepresented, and trying to bring up questions and how to increase those numbers. It's like the big thing. So the afternoon, Saturday was really great. I went to an introduction of osteopathic medicine. So for me, I feel confident with my OMM, but it was great for me to kind of be there and make more connections with some of the DOs that are practicing and learning from them. And for me, being an ACGME program is how do I keep those skills up? What can I do to make sure I'm not, keeping those skills up and I'm learning more? Different conferences I can attend and different things that I can do on my own. What should I do as an intern now to keep the skills up, even if I don't see a lot of patients maybe, or I'm so in such a rush and impatient. The doc was saying, just put your hands on everyone, try to keep those palpatory skills up, and try to treat it as much as you can. And I think it was good because it was important for my clinic site to kind of understand how to utilize me best and for my training and for me and my patients, because I am starting to get more patients that want to come see me for OMT. So that was great. And it was great to just talk about the history again and kind of what I learned in medical school as a DO. And then we did some of these other things. I did have some time to check out Chicago too. I got to do architecture. There we go. That's the word. Architecture tour on the river, and it was really great to see all these different buildings and kind of hit the history of Chicago and realize there was like a big fire in the 20s and like how they had to rebuild. A lot of the new modern, postmodern style, and it was just something I never did before, so it was really good to check that out. Had some good food like Giordano's pizza the other day. It was like the first day I got there, but Portillo's, a lot of good places to check out. Sorry, this video is like running long, but it's kind of like everything that's pretty much all of it. And for me, we ended with a powwow, which was great, at the University of Chicago, and it was a good way to end. And I got to meet even more people. I was able to meet a med student that's interested in doing a rotation where I did a lot of my work in Hawaii. She's originally from Kauai, so trying my best to stay connected with her. I mean, just having another connection with my Pacific Island culture and realizing that we're all Native people, especially coming from like Hawaii. I had that connection there and trying to help her and guide her as a med student. Got me really excited just because talking to people about my mission, identifying as Native American Pacific Islander is something very special to me. I was able to meet a doc that works at in Hawaii but kind of comes through everywhere because she's actually married to an Alaska Native, and it's kind of similar story to like I think of my significant other and I, we're representing these different cultures and coming together. And just I want to use them hopefully as a mentor and guide to I was able to kind of share like where I see myself big picture, like quickly meeting them, and I want to continue that connection and continue to work forward and move forward. So I was very fortunate for that. I definitely needed that. That was great to end with. And this is a great conference for me. Great to see all of us come together and kind of be realizing we all have like this similar drive and mission and fire and for our people and for what we're trying to do in medicine. And it's just great to be surrounded by these kinds of people and have that. So I think that was like the biggest thing I want to say. And then we came back today, flew back in. I ended up getting a better seat. It got moved and I got a better seat, so I got to sleep a little bit on the way back. And then just getting ready for the week again, had to do a lot of laundry, all that kind of stuff. But I think that kind of covers it. But this is a really special week for me. I got to go to this conference. Very thankful that it worked out in my schedule and everyone that helped me get there. And I'm excited to see how things move and staying connected with a lot of the people I met. And hopefully, it was kind of like it was a recruitment thing too. We're trying to get more med students and interested in our program and what we do. And I think we made some great connections. So, all right. Thank you everyone for watching, listening. It's a little bit longer one. Very thankful. This is kind of like getting to the end of my, I think I was blessed to have like an intro block and an outpatient block and have this conference, and like I know it's coming now. It's like my inpatient experience is kind of like I feel it, so that's kind of I think what I'm thinking about. I was able to talk to my significant other, like I mentioned. They're having a barbecue for her birthday's tomorrow, and I guess I'm missing her, so it's kind of tough, but I'm glad she's having a good time being with family, and I was glad I had this experience. And it's all a process and it's all something we're moving forward. And I think there was a lot of signs. I was trying to meet some people, and I ended up meeting them, and I was recognizing the signs, and just continue to see that and continue to recognize those things and just follow your heart and where you should be moving. And I'm continue to try to remember that, and I'm very thankful to be more and more surrounded by people like-minded like that as well. But yeah, thank you everyone. And remember to keep it mission-minded, keeping indigenous minded. All right. Aloha.